We expect that everything will be gone in just a few minutes. Hello again, I am Blunty. Tell me, gentle viewer, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being take my money and 1 being a so low-key it's more of a piggy grunt, how excited are you for Team Red's new GPU? As we speak, untold thousands, in fact, let's be dramatic, let's say millions of people are out there right now frustrated or bemused at the insane difficulty of simply giving several hundred of their very hard-earned 2020 dollar dues to obtain a PlayStation 5, or an Xbox Series X or S, or, slightly closer to home for this video, one of Nvidia's shiny new 3000 series graphics cards. We collectively shake our consumer fists at the catastrophically bad way manufacturers, brands, and retailers, both brick and mortar and online only, have all bungled the various launches of these products over the last several weeks. It might be wonky to claim it without more space and perspective away from the center of the clown show we're in right now, but I strongly suspect on all three counts, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nvidia, they've been the most poorly handled launches in at least recent history. Of course, it's no one's fault in particular. It's been a challenging year on both sides of the retail transaction this year, hasn't it? But that all still brings us to this fellow. This is an AMD RX6800, part of the new RX6000 series of GPUs about to theoretically hit shelves. And make no mistake, we're fully expecting the same kind of restricted supply of stock we've seen with everything else I've mentioned so far. AMD have no magic here. In fact, someone from a partner brand, ASUS Nordic in fact, have already warned of low stock levels on the 6800 in particular, and its beefed up sibling, the 6800 XT, comparing it to the 3080 and 3090 situation back in September. The quote I opened with, "We expect everything will be gone in a few minutes," was theirs. But that said, it may very well be worth the wait. It may very well be worth the lunatic-like scrambling from one retail website to another, refreshing, undoubtedly crashing, and frustrations of all kinds, and screaming into the void on Twitter and such. I'm not allowed to say why it's worth the wait yet, because today, while I'm free to show you the hardware and have a little general chat about it, I'm still under embargo as far as specific performance, benchmarks, and comparisons and the like go. Don't worry, you won't be waiting long, so make sure you're subscribed and belled, etc, 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 because I've got all of that ready to go coming at you. So, let's have a chat about the stuff I'm allowed to have a chat about. For those who didn't deep dive into the announcement and haven't been scraping the rumor sites and such, here's a quick rundown of what we're talking about here. The RX6000 series is launching with 3 flavors, the RX6800, the RX6800 XT, and the RX6900. Each respectively getting faster and more expensive as you go. All share the same basic architecture called RDNA2, the same family of design that powers both the new Xboxes and the PlayStation 5's graphics. It's also often referred to as Big Navi, Navi being another name for this whole family of evolution of architecture. And I'm sure for those who want that kind of thing, some other channels will deep dive into the nerd talk and the very specific technologies all wrapped up in here. I've been briefed very deeply of it. I have a big pile of documents explaining it all to me. And if you're of that persuasion, it's all pretty interesting stuff. But you know me, or at least the regulars do. I dig on the nerd numbers, sure, but all that actually matters to me is what it does, not how it does it, really. To that end, these new 6000 series cards bring a few new things to the Team Red table that I'm quite excited about. The first headline feature is, of course, ray tracing. I've spoken recently on the confusion and ignorance around ray tracing and Nvidia's superb marketing around it, but to those of you who haven't seen that particular video, I'll link to it in the down below so you can check it out later, but the 2 core facts from it are these. First, ray tracing is a decades-old technology. Nvidia did not invent it, Nvidia don't own it, and you don't even need special hardware to do it. It can absolutely be done in software using traditional CPU and GPU architectures. Most recently, we've seen that in the Crysis remaster. Secondly, when Nvidia introduced the RTX series of graphics cards with specialized hardware designed specifically to accelerate the particular kind of math ray tracing needs, they changed the game because they made it practical to do all the fancy ray tracing stuff in real time at gameplay-friendly frame rates without absolutely melting your system down. And now, of course, AMD have joined in. Every single compute unit inside the GPU itself has its own ray accelerator hardware built onto it. This, like NVIDIA's RTX, is specifically crafted for a very particular kind of geometrical math that makes ray tracing a much more practical thing to do in real time for today's games at acceptable frame rates. And it also takes the load off the rest of the system from doing that math so it can get along with doing all the other stuff it needs to be doing to make your game run. The rest of the compute unit has the regular generational improvement stuff. It's more than 1.5 times as efficient when it comes to performance per watt, and it can run at 1.3 times the frequency for the same power as the previous generation. In practical terms, that means better performance and easier to cool, which should also mean nice quiet fans. They've also done memory stuff. They're calling it the infinity cache, rather dramatically, but again, in practical real-world terms, what that means is a nice fat boost to memory bandwidth to help keep things running smooth and make sure the GPU isn't choked down by waiting for data to come from the memory. They've specifically designed architectural improvements for full-on DirectX 12 Ultimate support. In real terms, that enables full use of several performance-enhancing game technologies. There's that ray tracing, we spoke about that, but alongside that is the less flashy but far more impactful for game performance anyway, VRS, or Variable Rate Shading. In simple terms, it means the parts of the game scene that are more visually important, more informationally important, and more likely to be points of focus in gameplay for your human eyeballs are given more priority and rendered at higher fidelity, and the inverse is also true, so less GPU power is burned on stuff you're not very likely to even be looking at very closely enough to notice they're actually being done at slightly lower fidelities. So overall, in general, the game will look basically identical for all intents and purposes, but you'll see a noticeable boost in performance because of the efficiency in the way it's being rendered with this VRS. There's also other stuff too, but suffice to say, this new hardware supports the newest game engine stuff when it comes to fancy tricks and performance boosters. And on the hardware side of things specifically, this thing is chunky. It's tremendously heavier than the RTX 3070 I have here, and we'll be comparing it to in an upcoming video. Stay tuned, subscribe, ring the bell, etc. And I will also be looking at this RTX 3070 from Gigabyte. It's the Eagle OC variation. I will be looking at that in its own dedicated videos coming up too, so subscribe, ring the bell, etc. for that as well. But outside of being a chunky, heavy beast of a thing, the 6800 is easily the best looking of AMD's cards, I think. I liked the Radeon 7. I liked the 5700 XT. But this, the super clean lines, the two-tone shroud with subtle red pinstriping, the slick metal backplate, I really like it visually. I also like that they've got a USB port. Some monitors these days natively work with that. They just plug straight in and even give you a hub built onto the monitor, all that kind of fun stuff. It's very handy for single cable VR, and it'll even just work as a bog standard USB port for a drive or something. 2x8-pin power connectors, standard power connectors, not the freaky weird ones NVIDIA invented for reasons. And, well, that's pretty much all I can show and tell for now. But once more, stay tuned for performance metrics, comparisons to other AMD and NVIDIA cards, rage mode, which is kind of an overclocking thing, and fan noise tests and all that sort of stuff. It's still coming. And all I can say is it's all very interesting. So yeah, again, tell me how excited you are, and also tell me if there's something specific you want me to test. I'll try and roll it into upcoming videos if I can. Thank you very much for watching. I am Blunty. I appreciate each and every one of my patrons scrolling up above there. Your above and beyond support is tremendously meaningful, and probably ray traced as well. I was stretching for something relevant to say there. I think I missed. They can't all be home runs. I am Blunty. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.